Atheism, the belief that there is no God, has been growing around the world. But atheism doesn't always mean people reject spirituality completely. In many countries, people who call themselves atheists still believe in things like karma, spirits, or ancestral traditions. From Europe to Asia, the way societies view religion and belief is changing rapidly. So today, we're exploring some of the most atheist countries in the world and the unique cultural stories behind them. Poland is still one of the most religious countries in Europe. Only about 1% of the population identifies as atheist, while Catholicism remains deeply rooted in Polish culture. However, church attendance and religious participation have been declining in recent years, especially among younger people. Polish law also protects religious sentiment. Publicly insulting religious symbols or places of worship can lead to fines of up to 5,000 zloty or even imprisonment. In Bulgaria, religion continues to play an important role in society. According to the 2021 census, about 69.5% of Bulgarians belong to the Eastern Orthodox Church, while 10.7% identify as Muslim. Only about 3% identify as atheists, though the country's decades under communist rule helped spread secular ideas throughout society. Lithuania remains a predominantly Roman Catholic country. In 2021, around 74% of the population identified as Catholic. Despite the strong religious identity, only about 6% of Lithuanians identify as atheists. Interestingly, while many people identify culturally with religion, fewer actively practice it. Ukraine has a diverse religious landscape. About 6% of Ukrainians identify as atheists, while roughly 30% say they are non-religious. However, recent events have affected spiritual beliefs. A 2023 survey found that faith in God actually increased during the war, while only a small percentage reported losing faith. The United Kingdom has become increasingly secular. According to recent census data, about 37.8% of people identify as non-religious, while around 11% call themselves atheists. Researchers suggest the real number of atheists may be higher, as many non-believers avoid the label. Ireland has long been associated with strong Catholic traditions. Around 69% of the population still identifies as Catholic, while about 9% identify as atheists. However, modern social changes have significantly reduced the Church's influence in Irish society. Austria remains largely Catholic, with about 55% of the population identifying as Catholic. However, around 10% identify as atheists, and more than 22% say they have no religion. Austria also has a unique system where registered Christians must pay a church tax based on their income. Germany has a large non-religious population. About 14% identify as convinced atheists, and roughly 46% of the population is irreligious. The difference between regions is striking. East Germany is one of the least religious areas in the world, largely due to its communist history. Norway has seen a major shift in belief. For the first time, surveys show more Norwegians say they do not believe in God than those who do. About 12% identify as atheists, and Norwegian schools teach world religions and philosophy, encouraging respect for all beliefs. Denmark is another highly secular country. Around 46% of Danes say they do not believe in God, while about 14% identify as atheists. However, many people still value the Church of Denmark for its cultural traditions. Sweden is one of the most secular societies in the world. About 18% identify as atheists, and around 55% of Swedes say they are non-religious. Many people now choose non-religious ceremonies instead of traditional church rituals. Iceland. In Iceland, about 17% of people identify as atheists. Although the Lutheran Church remains the official state church, religious participation has been declining. Interestingly, some Icelanders are turning to neo-pagan traditions connected to Norse mythology. France has a strong tradition of secularism known as laïcité, which emphasizes the separation of religion and government. Around 21% of French citizens identify as atheists, while 29% say they are non-religious. Religion plays a smaller role in public life compared to many other countries. Belgium is also highly secular. About 21% of the population identifies as atheist, and 43% say they have no religion. The government recognizes and supports both religious and non-religious philosophical communities. Estonia is often considered one of the least religious countries in the world. About 58% of the population identifies as non-religious, while around 10% call themselves atheists. Despite this, many people believe in spiritual forces, folk traditions, or neo-pagan practices. Latvia has a mixed religious landscape. The largest religious groups are Lutherans, Roman Catholics, and Orthodox Christians. However, about 9% of Latvians identify as atheists. Historically, secular ideas in Latvia were influenced by Baltic German intellectual traditions, which promoted rational thinking and secular values. Spain has seen a rapid rise in atheism. Today, around 16% of Spaniards identify as atheists, more than double the number from a decade ago. During the dictatorship of Francisco Franco, open atheism was discouraged, but modern Spain has become far more secular. Slovenia has also experienced growing secularism. Around 28% of people identify as atheists, although religious traditions still play a cultural role in holidays and festivals. United States. In the United States, religious belief has been gradually declining. About 7% of Americans identify as convinced atheists, while 32% describe themselves as non-religious. The shift is especially noticeable among millennials and Generation Z, who are more exposed to different cultures and worldviews. Canada has experienced a major shift in religious identity. Although only about 10% identify as convinced atheists, the number of people with no religious affiliation has grown dramatically. By 2021, about 37% of Canadians identified as agnostic, atheist, or having no religion. Australia has seen a sharp rise in people with no religion. According to the 2021 census, 38.9% of Australians reported having no religion, while about 13% identify as convinced atheists. This trend is particularly strong among younger generations. Vietnam's spiritual landscape is very complex. Around 57% of the population identifies as non-religious, and about 6% identify as atheists. However, many people still participate in ancestor worship, folk traditions, and belief in nature spirits, even without belonging to an organized religion. Israel. Despite being the center of several major religions, Israel has a large secular population. Around 8% of Israelis identify as convinced atheists. Many Jewish citizens consider themselves culturally Jewish but secular, maintaining traditions while not necessarily believing in God. South Korea has seen major changes in religious participation. About 23% of people identify as atheists, though many still follow Christianity, Buddhism, or traditional beliefs. Modern lifestyles and technological change may be contributing to declining religious attendance. Japan has a unique relationship with religion. About 29% of people identify as atheists, but many still participate in Shinto rituals and Buddhist traditions. Religion in Japan often focuses more on culture and tradition than belief in a single god. In Hong Kong, around 30% of the population identifies as convinced atheists. However, traditional spiritual practices remain common. For example, many people pray to Guanyin, a deity associated with compassion. Taiwan's religious landscape is complex. About 21% identify as atheists, but spiritual beliefs remain widespread. Many people still believe in karma, Buddhist teachings, and traditional Chinese spirituality. China has the highest reported percentage of atheists in the world. About 67% of the population identifies as convinced atheists, largely influenced by the country's communist history and government policies. However, traditional philosophies like Buddhism, Taoism, and Confucianism still shape Chinese culture and moral values. Czech Republic. The Czech Republic is widely considered one of the most atheist countries in the world. About 25% of the population identifies as atheist, while 72% say they are non-religious. Religious practice is extremely low compared to most European countries. Finland. In Finland, about 8% of people identify as atheists. However, the Lutheran Church remains an important cultural institution. Even many non-religious Finns still support preserving Christian traditions and teaching religious history in schools. Albania has a unique place in history. In 1967, under communist leader Enver Hoxha, Albania declared itself the world's first atheist nation, banning all religious practices. Today, around 9% of Albanians identify as atheists, and about 30% describe themselves as non-religious. Despite this history, Albania is known for strong religious tolerance among Muslims, Christians, and other groups. In general around the world, atheism is growing, but belief itself is not disappearing. Instead, it's evolving. Many people today may reject organized religion while still holding spiritual, cultural, or philosophical beliefs, and that makes the global story of atheism far more complex than it first appears. If you enjoyed this video, like, subscribe, and share, and let us know in the comments, do you think the world is becoming more atheist and or just differently spiritual?